Last time on the Skip and Josh podcast.
It never fails that the team cannot snap the ball. They snap the ball with like 1 second left on the play clock. Or even better, they snap it with no time left on the play clock and they get a penalty. You have 30 or 35 or even 40 seconds, I'm not sure how long it is, to snap the ball. It's really not that complicated. If you're a professional football player and you can't do this in 30 seconds, there is something wrong. I understand sometimes teams do it intentionally because they want the clock to run out, but I'm not talking about those instances. I'm talking about when they're trying to get a playoff and they're down and it's late in the game. Snap the ball!
You're listening to the Skip and Josh podcast with Skip Sherman and Josh Obadia.
I'm Josh in Toronto.
And I'm Skip in Montreal.
In today's episode, Yadier Molina,
Howie Kendrick,
and Sean Doolittle.
But first, a correction and a clarification.
Okay, Skip, so last time we spoke, I was very annoyed about a lot of things.
Yeah, the whole episode was what's bugging you.
Yeah, so actually, there's really not much bugging me. Of course, I'm annoyed about some things because I'm always annoyed about some things. But I'm not like as aggravated, I guess, as I was last week.
I thought you'd be more because the Nationals won.
Well, I'm very upset and very disappointed that the Nationals won. But there's really nothing to be aggravated about because it's not like someone did something stupid to cause that victory. Although you could argue that Dave Roberts did something stupid. But I mean, to be honest, I would have brought in Clayton Kershaw also.
We can talk about that in detail in a bit. But yeah, it's hard to blame him. Yeah.
First of all, we have to start with a correction and a clarification from last episode because I don't like when I make mistakes.
Oh, gosh.
So last week I was talking about Carl Yastrzemski and Mike Yastrzemski. I refer to Carl as the grandson and Mike as the grandfather. It's the other way around.
I think everybody knew that, and it's funny. I didn't even catch that, even in the edit. You know, I didn't even catch it.
Well, I caught it. So
good.
And the other thing I wanted to clarify, it's not a correction, it's a clarification. I said that the Brewers have the best logo in sports. I'm referring to their old logo, not the new one with the M and the wheat. Who cares about the M and the wheat? I'm talking about the old one.
You're talking about like the baseball glove.
Which is an M and a B.
Yes. I love that logo.
Yeah, they use it sometimes, but that's the one I was referring to.
When I was 16 years old, I met kids from another branch of the school that I was going to, the Snowden branch, right?
Yeah.
So one guy had this, and we were 16. The Brewers sucked, right? Mm-hmm. He had a Milwaukee Brewers hat with that logo. And I remember thinking, like, why is this kid wearing this Brewers hat? And then now, as we get older, I realize, wow, what a beautiful hat.
It really is nice. Anyway.
Major League Baseball.
Now that that's out of the way, let's go to baseball. By the way, the best thing that happened to me in October is that the baseball playoffs started because I don't think I've watched any football since baseball started, since the playoffs started.
And the amazing thing is, we recorded last week. We didn't talk at all, not even 1 second, about the NHL season, which started. And we may record a whole episode today. And also, we may not talk about the NHL either, because baseball is on sort of like our number one priority.
Well, the reason we didn't talk about hockey last time was because only one game had been played, I think. Only one Canadiens game had been played at the time.
Yeah.
So there wasn't much to talk about.
No.
We'll touch on hockey today.
We will a little bit, but I love talking about baseball. Anytime we do talk about baseball, like around this time of year, I always think back to when we launched the podcast and we recorded those episodes, some that never aired. And
Did we miss our 3-year anniversary, by the way? I think we missed it.
Oh my God. No, it's in November.
You sure about that?
I'm 100% sure.
I thought it already passed.
Maybe we started recording in October, but the launch was definitely November because I remember where I was. I was at a conference in New Orleans, which is always in November.
Okay.
So, yeah, we could go on, and we could have gone on and talked only about baseball. And still, there's a part of me that wants this show to be just a baseball podcast, but that's not really feasible for 12 months.
I guess not, no.
Yeah. So, what do you feel? How do you feel about the Nationals advancing?
So, I guess we'll go one series at a time. And obviously, I'm very disappointed, very upset that the Nationals advanced because, that organization hasn't won a playoff round since 1981 when they were the Montreal Expos. By the way, you and some other friends of mine fell asleep and didn't see the end of that game. So that text message that I sent you that I can't repeat on this show at 11:30 at night when Clayton Kershaw gave up 2 home runs, I sent that same exact text message to 2 different people, you and another person, and both of you responded the next morning telling me that you fell asleep before that happened. So what you missed, other than the 2 home runs...
I've seen it all now.
No, yeah. I know. You missed the 2 home runs. You missed the grand slam to win it in extra innings. But you also missed that... I think it was TBS was showing that game. TBS showed B-roll of the Montreal Expos defeating the Philadelphia Phillies in 1981. So you saw Steve Rogers. I think he got a hit off Steve Carlton in that game.
He did. He got the winning RBI and outdueled Carlton.
So they showed that hit.
Wow. Very, very cool.
Yeah. So that's what you missed when you fell asleep. But I mean, listen, what am I going to do? I'm obviously annoyed. I partly blame Dave Roberts, but I would have brought in Clayton Kershaw also. The only thing I would have done differently in that last game was when they took out Kershaw, they brought in Kenta Maeda. By the way, Kenta Maeda was a starter most of the season. They moved him to the bullpen the last month of the season. And since they moved him to the bullpen, he's actually been pitching really well.
Yeah.
But Kenta Maeda, because he was a starter, he's capable of pitching, like throwing 100 pitches a game.
Of course.
Except the problem is when they bring him in for 1 inning and then they take him out. That's the mistake. So they brought him in, which was smart. Then they pinch hit for him in the next inning, which was dumb. Then they had to bring in Joe Kelly, who, by the way, Joe Kelly this year has not been good at all.
I just feel that, like, the Dodgers season, they won 1 million games, right? Their depth of their team is incredible. Position players and pitching. And to have the whole season riding on Joe Kelly, that's what bothered me. When I saw the box score and I was like, Joe Kelly? Of all the pitchers that they brought in, of all the ones to take the loss and to be on the mound in the crucial time, that's the guy? That I just found that like a little disturbing. Dodgers fans have a lot to be upset about.
Oh, for sure. And you saw, you didn't see because you fell asleep. As soon as the grand slam was hit, like even before it left the park, the stadium emptied.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I would have left early, but the thing is also the other thing. So I'm watching it live and, the bases are loaded and at the time it's still a tie game. And I'm thinking, well, bases loaded, no outs. They're definitely going to score at least 1 run. All they need is a sac fly.
Right.
But at the time, I wasn't sure who was coming up to bat. And then I see that it's Howie Kendrick. I'm like, this guy is like the most clutch guy on the planet.
Well, he's a professional hitter.
Yes.
He can't field worth anything.
No.
They shoved him at first base, and he can't even play first base. He really can't.
Well, actually, they put him at second base.
Well, that was his original position, but he sucks there too. But the guy can hit. So if anybody's going to deliver just a sac fly and get the bat on the ball and not strike out and, like get that run in, it's going to be Howie Kendrick.
100%.
They got more than what they even dreamed of, which was the grand slam.
Yeah, like he's so clutch. He's so, by the way, the opposite of Corey Seager, who, by the way, had a lousy season, and they kept putting him in the number 5 spot in the batting order. And I'm saying to myself, when is Dave Roberts going to either move Corey Seager down in the order or bench him completely? Because he was non-existent in this series.
Well, most of the Dodgers hitters were non-existent, don't you feel? Other than Max Muncy?
Muncy was good. Bellinger was good.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. I don't have the stats in front of me.
Me too, but he's okay. I just found Turner had 1 big hit, but I don't know. I just felt like the Dodgers were it's sad. How many years now in a row have they won the division? I think it's 7 years in a row, right?
Something like that.
And maybe this is the end. Like maybe this is, I mean, it's not the end because they have such a good team still. They'll be there next year too, right?
Yeah, they probably will win their division again next year, but who cares?
Yeah, no, exactly. Because winning the division, maybe they'll go through something like what the Nationals went through this year and what sort of the Washington Capitals also went through in that, like, maybe the pressure will be off. And it's like, okay, and next year maybe it'll be their year. I don't know.
Okay, I wrote down some notes about this series. I want to go through them.
Okay.
So game 3 of the Dodgers Nationals series, in the 6th inning, Joe Kelly was in the game and he gives up 4 straight base runners and they don't take him out.
Yeah.
So that was frustrating. Then game 4, same series. Again, Roberts brings in Kenta Maeda. And he brought him in early. It was the 3rd inning because I think Rich Hill was having some issues. It was a good move to bring him in. And because it's early in the game and because Kenta Maeda, as I said, was a starting pitcher, he can go 5 innings or 6 innings. But then he takes him out in the 5th inning and the game was only tied at 1 at the time. A lot of the times when Dave Roberts would pinch hit for his pitcher, it was useless because the pinch hitter ended up doing nothing. And you know, because you followed the National League growing up, obviously you don't like when your pitcher comes up to bat, especially if there's like runners on scoring position and you want to try and drive in a run. But you can't pinch hit for your pitcher early in the game if you want that pitcher to continue pitching. Right. This is why I like the National League so much better than the American League, because strategy is involved.
Of course, yeah.
So, I mean, I get it. Kenta Maeda can't hit. You want to pinch hit for him. But you can't do that in the 5th inning. Maybe in the 7th inning.
Maybe. I mean, that's what the job of the manager is. They have to decide on these plays. I mean, and it's a game. It's the deciding game. So maybe if there's bases loaded and the pitcher's up, maybe you take your chance and you pinch hit. But that's why Dave Roberts is the manager. He's going to get the criticism. And in the press conference, he said, "Look, I'll get the criticism," and he was willing to accept it. I just felt back for Kershaw. You saw Kershaw at the end. He's sitting by himself. No one talking to him.
Yeah, I mean, you know, at this point, I don't think he's ever going to win a World Series. I mean, I
think he could win a World Series, but he can't be the focal point anymore. And I think Dave Roberts should have realized that.
Well, he didn't start. He didn't start game 1.
No, I know. But my beef about bringing in Kershaw, like you said, you would have brought him in too. I don't know. This is not Clayton Kershaw from 4 years ago. This is Clayton Kershaw from now, right?
Yeah, except the first guy he faced, he struck him out on 3 pitches. So
he did.
You know,
the fact of the matter is, the star players of the Nationals, Scherzer, Strasburg, Soto, Rendon, came through.
Yes.
And the star players for the Dodgers did not. That's what happened.
Okay, one more note about that series.
Yeah.
So I think it was also game 4. They bring in Sean Doolittle. They have the lead and they bring in Sean Doolittle, which I can't believe they would bring in Sean Doolittle.
They have to bring in people at some point, no?
Not Sean Doolittle. Anyhow.
Right.
He gives up this deep fly ball to straightaway center field, which, by the way, the ball was crushed. And if not for the wind, that ball's a home run.
Well, do you go continue and I'll mention something about the ball.
So the ball is crushed and everyone thinks it's gone as soon as it leaves the bat. But because of the wind, it doesn't leave the stadium and it's just a routine fly out. Like on the score sheet, it looks like a routine fly out. So anyway, Nationals end up winning the game. So Doolittle doesn't do any damage. But the thing that I couldn't believe, as the center fielder is like throwing the ball back into the infield, Doolittle has like this huge smile on his face. Like he's laughing. He's like, as if he knew, like, yeah, that was a home run. I'm lucky. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that not one Nationals fan thought that was funny at all.
Not at all.
Yet he was laughing about it. Wow. And if I'm a Nationals fan, I want to smack him in the face. You just gave up a home run. The only reason it wasn't was because the wind kept it in and you're laughing?
Well, is it the wind? Did you subscribe to this theory? So obviously like this was like the record-setting year for home runs. More home runs than ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And actually, Major League Baseball did come out and say that there is something different about the ball.
Is there?
They said there's something different about the ball. I don't know what it is.
Oh, no. There is this season, but not during the playoffs.
Well, that's the whole thing. So are you like, is there this reverse juice ball going on now? Is that what's happening?
No, I don't think that's the case. Because there have been home runs in the playoffs.
No, I know. Of course, there's been home runs in 1945 when the different ball.
No, I mean, there have been home runs in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I know. But like, it's just weird that there was so many home runs in the regular season, and I feel in the playoffs, it's not as pronounced. But maybe because the pitching's better. Who knows? You can't tell. There's no way to know. I'm just saying that there's this theory about the reverse juice.
I think I heard that conspiracy theory, but I don't know that I believe it.
Okay, good. I don't know that I believe it too.
At least now, in the next round,
Yeah.
I have a team to root for, the St. Louis Cardinals.
I was going to ask you this because we kind of said, okay, no more predictions for us.
Oh, I'm not predicting. I just now have a team to root for.
That's what I wanted to say. So instead of like doing predictions, I just want to ask you, like, who are you rooting for? So I guess you're rooting for the Cardinals.
100% the St. Louis Cardinals.
I couldn't care less. I don't want the Nationals to win, but I don't have any feeling for the Cardinals whatsoever, and I don't care about them at all. You know, so there's only one team that I'm actually rooting for in the playoffs. It's the Astros. So
we do need to talk about, speaking of the Cardinals, I want to talk a little bit about the Cardinals-Braves series just for a minute.
Sure. Yeah.
So I wrote down some notes about that series as well.
Okay. You sent me a funny text about that too.
I
don't even
remember.
Saying, well, this game's over. I could watch the hockey game now.
Oh yeah. Well, that was the 10-0 game. 10-0 in the first inning.
Yeah.
But in game 3 of the Braves-Cardinals series.
Yeah.
So in the 9th inning, the Cardinals walked Brian McCann intentionally to get to Dansby Swanson.
Okay.
So it's easy for me to say this now because it's already happened. But as they were doing that, I'm saying to myself, why are you walking Brian McCann intentionally? He is not good. He has not been good for a few years. Brian McCann is the guy you want to be pitching to.
Do you know that I work with his cousin?
I didn't know that, no.
Brian McCann.
I didn't know that you worked with his cousin.
So I feel like I kind of know him.
Well, they walked him
to
get to Dansby Swanson, which was a big mistake because then they tie up the game.
Yeah.
Dansby Swanson ties up the game. And then Adam Duvall, this nobody who have never heard of until like a few weeks ago.
Right.
He came through in the wild card game.
Right.
Sorry, not in the wild card game. He came through in game 1 or something. I don't remember.
Yeah. And then in this one with this,
and then in game 3 again he comes through. Who the hell is this guy?
Well, this is the time. This is October. This is where you can this guy's getting a contract now.
Yes, but they could have just pitched to McCann and avoided all that. Anyway, it's okay because the Braves ended up losing, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But that was something that annoyed me. Now,
how about that 10-run inning? That was mental.
You know, I didn't see any of it. I mean, I had the TV on and so I could hear what was going on, but like...
It's just, how does that happen? Like, honestly.
I don't know. Now, a few more things about the Cardinals.
Uh-huh.
So I was saying how Howie Kendrick is like the most clutch player in baseball.
Yeah.
He's probably the second most clutch player in baseball because the most clutch player in baseball is Yadier Molina.
100%. 100%.
This guy, you want this guy on your team no matter what. This guy 100%. Always comes through. He gets banged up every game. He's got bruises and all kinds of things all over his body. I don't even know how he's able to walk out there on the field every day. And yet somehow this guy, if you need a hit, if you need a sac fly, if you need something, Yadier Molina is your guy.
I could not agree more. It's incredible to think how long he's been on the Cardinals. And then another podcast that I was listening to was saying he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, you know, I mean, he doesn't have numbers like Hall of Famers, but because he's a catcher, then yes, he probably will be.
He's got all those Gold Gloves and the World Series championships, and he does have something like 200 homers, which for a catcher is nothing to sneeze at. But I hadn't considered him as a Hall of Famer until the case was sort of laid out for me, and I was like, yeah, I guess so. But man, is he good.
He's really good.
So he's one reason to root for the Cardinals for me anyways.
Right.
But that's about it. The list sort of stops and ends there.
Now, one last note about the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Cardinals manager Mike Schilt. This guy should be the manager of the year. Because if you look at the Cardinals lineup, if you look at the Cardinals roster, I don't even know how they made the playoffs.
Well, I mean, they have guys that had put up numbers that you had never even heard of, right?
I mean, come on. Look at that lineup.
I know, it's not great.
And the pitching rotation, after Jack Flaherty, that pitching rotation is pretty ordinary.
By the way, Flaherty's amazing.
He is amazing.
Like, I think he's the best pitcher in the league right now. Other than Garrett Cole, we didn't get into that. But if I had to pick one, if you had to tell me I have to pick one pitcher to put on the mound to pitch a Game 7, it might be Flaherty. Because he's
Walker Buehler as well.
Yeah.
Would go into that conversation.
Yeah.
But yes, Mike Schilt, I think he deserves to be the manager of the year because he was working with pretty much nothing.
Yeah.
The other guy, that's in the National League. In the American League, Kevin Cash. That Tampa Bay lineup.
Oh, it's brutal. When you're talking about the Cardinals have no one. The Rays. I mean, come on.
So I know I'm moving to the American League now, but that Tampa lineup yesterday in Game 5 against Houston. So Travis d'Arnaud is a nice player. You know,
He's
it's
fine.
hard. It's hard to find a good catcher these days.
I know, but he bats like 5th in their order.
He bats cleanup. This is what I was going to tell you. He's not a cleanup hitter.
He's not. He's the number
Like
7
Travis
hitter.
d'Arnaud, if he were on the Astros, he'd be batting 9th, and he was batting cleanup.
Right.
Anyway, so yes, so Kevin Cash in the American League Manager of the Year, and in the National League Mike Schilt Manager of the Year.
It's not just Kevin Cash. It's also the GM of Tampa, the whole organization.
Right.
I mean, they picked up guys off the scrap heap, right?
Exactly. That's why the fact that they made the playoffs is remarkable.
Like that guy Tommy Pham.
Yeah.
He's a reject from the Cardinals, I think.
So they didn't just make the playoffs. They won the wild card game, and they beat the Astros twice.
Yeah. They beat Verlander.
So I don't really have a lot to say about the American League, because the American League was actually kind of boring because everyone thought the Yankees and Astros would win, and they both won.
Yeah. So I'll ask you the same question. Yankees or Astros? Not prediction. Who are you cheering for?
I want the Astros to win.
Me too.
And I know that you probably don't think this is a big deal, but the Astros having home field advantage, I think, is a big deal.
I don't think home field advantage is any consequence in baseball.
You see, I knew you would say that.
I think it's a media creation. They're like, oh, they're playing for home field advantage. They need to win this game to lock up home field advantage. Who cares?
No. But this is why I disagree with you, because
Yeah.
if you look back to the last 2 years, because the Astros have been in this position 2 years in a row now.
Right.
And last year they lost to Boston, and 2 years ago they won, I think, against the Yankees, I think.
Yeah.
And so when they beat the Yankees 2 years ago, the Astros had home field advantage. Last year when they lost to the Red Sox, they didn't have home field advantage. And if you look back at the games that were played in Boston, the Astros did not have good games in Boston.
They don't have a good road record. Obviously, look, they lost twice to Tampa, right? In this series, both the games were a trop.
So I think that home field advantage will matter, because I think that Yankee Stadium is a more home run friendly park.
Definitely is. Definitely is.
So I think home field advantage will matter.
Yeah. I mean,
Now,
I'm looking forward to a very good series with the Yankees and the Astros. Honestly, I can't wait to get it started. I don't know who's pitching game 1 for the Yankees, to be honest.
I don't know either.
The rotation doesn't even really matter, but I know Greinke's pitching for the Astros. The Yankees actually haven't announced their starter yet as of the time of this recording.
One more thing about the Yankee series, and then some general notes about baseball in general.
Okay.
First of all, Giancarlo Stanton has been playing left field. He cannot play the outfield.
No, he's brutal.
I don't know what happened to him. He aged overnight, and he looks awful out there on defense.
Well, he doesn't even look good at the plate.
No, but at least, all he's trying to do is crush the ball at the plate, so you can still do that. But like when he has to run for like a sinking liner or something,
he can't move.
No,
I know.
And I mean, they don't have a choice, because if they put him at DH, then they have to put Encarnacion in the outfield.
No. Encarnacion is DH like automatic. No, it has to be.
Well, there was one time where Encarnacion, if you recall, was actually a good defensive third baseman.
I don't know about good, but he was the third baseman.
Yes.
And
anyway,
then he was a first baseman.
That's right. And then he was an outfielder, and now he's a DH.
Yeah, well, he can't play the field. So if they're using Encarnacion, which they're going to do, he has to play DH, which means Stanton has to play the outfield, which is not good.
Listen, they should be able to overcome his deficiencies because of his offense, but, and I mean, they swept the Twins, so who am I to argue with the lineup? But I'm just saying.
Yeah, the Yankees are debating about their roster because Aaron Hicks is supposedly ready. So he may be activated for the series, which actually is a good thing in terms of their defense, because at least he can play center.
I have a question for you. I saw this at least a few times during the first round of the baseball playoffs.
Yeah.
Why do baseball players slide into first base?
Well, it's stupid. We've known this forever.
But yet they still do it.
I think it's some kind of like, I don't want to say reaction, but like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. It's like an instinct, I guess, like just to slide into first base, but it actually doesn't help you. It actually slows you down.
It hurts you.
Yeah. Because if you just run through the base, obviously you're running faster than if you have to slide, right?
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to me.
No, I don't get it either.
The other thing, I saw a few more pop-ups to the pitcher's mound where the pitcher ran away.
Yeah, well, the pitcher's good. They have to run away. They have to. It's the rule.
Such a joke.
It's the rule, Josh. They have to run away. Run away from the pop fly.
I want you to find me the rule book and show me where that is in the rule book.
It's in the hidden rule book.
Ah.
Right? It's in the rule book that it's just like we know about, but there's like actually not written down.
Is that also known as the unwritten rule book?
That's what I meant to say. The unwritten rule book.
Okay.
That's what it is, right? If he catches it, the manager's going to give him shit. Don't you think? If he just catches that pop fly, whoever it is, his manager's going to give him shit. They're going to say, you're not supposed to do that. Stupid.
So now the other thing I want to say about baseball in general.
Yeah.
It's not like this should happen next week or next year or whatever. It's now time already. It's past the time where balls and strikes need to be called by that box on the screen.
We're getting close to that.
No, I mean, there's really no reason. The technology is so far advanced now. They did a test in one of the minor leagues where I think they did, I don't know if it was a whole game or a whole week worth of games, where the computerized box in all the games, in all the pitches, it made one mistake.
Right.
And an actual umpire, an actual human makes multiple mistakes. And this is something that is so easily done by a machine. I don't see what they are waiting for.
You know, you see managers and players arguing balls and strikes, right?
All the time.
And they get ejected because they're not allowed to. The manager's technically not allowed to argue balls and strikes.
Correct.
It should be an automatic ejection.
Correct.
So they do argue balls and strikes to get annoyed, and then you know how the umpires are. The umpires are these big macho men that get offended. They're insulting their manhood when they argue balls and strikes, and then next thing you know, like there's a whole brouhaha, and the umps are mad at the players are mad at the umps. Look at tennis.
Yes.
Tennis has that, I don't know what it's called. Eagle eye, it has some kind of wacky name, right? Where the players are allowed to challenge if the ball hit the line.
Yes.
When the players, like the ball, the play is happening, the player says, I want to challenge that. They look at it, they see what happens. After that, the player doesn't say a word. The player accepts the decision. Look, this thing said it's in, this thing said it's out, it must be right. And they accept the decision. It would be the same thing with the balls and strikes. Maybe at the beginning there would be some, obviously there's going to be resistance to it. But after a certain amount of time, that thing is going to be, that system, the computer is going to be like, that's going to be the, I can't think of my words. That like whatever that thing says is going to be the golden rule. Like that's it. There's no way to argue it, right?
I mean, you just said it a minute ago. How many players and managers have been ejected for arguing balls and strikes, except that they were right when they were arguing? And if you look back at the replay, they were right and they should not have been ejected. And then ejecting that player might have affected the outcome of the rest of that game. So you do this computerized thing. It avoids arguments. It shortens the length of games. It's a win-win.
I'll tell you one thing. The Atlanta Braves probably don't have their one World Series if the computer is calling balls and strikes. Because Tom Glavine lived on that outside corner, there was a ball half the time, right?
Not just Tom Glavine. Any Cy Young, or sorry, not Cy Young, any Hall of Fame type pitcher.
Yeah.
Once they're late in their career,
they get a lot of calls.
They get the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. So do you think it's a reality? Have you read up on this thing? Like, I know you said that they've tried it in the minors, but like,
I mean, and it's not even an indictment on umpires, because it's not an easy thing to call a ball or a strike when the pitch is coming in that fast. Yeah. It's not an easy thing to do. No, I know. And I'm not suggesting that they eliminate the job of the umpire, because he can still call, safe or out at the plate or fair or foul and everything. Like, they still need an umpire. But for balls and strikes, something that simple, just let the machine do it.
It would be weird just having the umpire stand there if he's not calling the balls and strikes. You wouldn't even need the ump behind the catcher.
Well, you'd get used to it after a while. Don't worry.
Imagine watching the game and the ump's not behind the catcher. The ump's just standing off to the side.
I think he would still be there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow, this is something.
Anyway, it's time for that to happen. One last baseball note before we switch to a different sport.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, obviously, the American League games have been on Fox and the National League games have been on TBS. Yeah. I just want to say that I really like Ernie Johnson.
He's good. He's good.
I don't listen or watch him much because he does mostly basketball and I don't watch basketball, but I like Ernie Johnson.
I don't like, what's his name?
Jeff
AJ Brzezinski.
Oh, I don't like AJ Brzezinski either. No,
I don't like him either.
No. Or Jeff Francoeur.
It's okay. I don't know why Jeff Francoeur's even there, to be honest. Isn't he still active?
No.
Oh, okay.
He finally retired.
Okay, good. All right, so that's baseball.
That's baseball.
The championship series are going to start tonight. And it's an exciting time for baseball fans because these are great games. And I'll try not to fall asleep.
Yeah, try to stay awake.
Part of my problem is that I just returned from Europe and I'm still screwed up. I can't stay up late.
Well, eventually that'll fix itself.
The National Hockey League.
Let's go to hockey for a minute.
Mm-hmm. So the NHL season started.
Yes.
Have you been watching?
I mean, I've watched a few games, but the one game I want to talk about really is from last Saturday when the Canadians were playing the Leafs in Toronto.
Yeah.
And early in the third period, the Leafs made it 4-1. And I said out loud to no one in particular, well, this game is over. And then I watched the rest of the third period and I saw how the Canadians came back and won the game. But to be honest, I don't know how the Canadians won that game.
It was kind of bizarre, no?
It was not kind of bizarre. It was entirely bizarre.
The best thing about that game was when Kapanen threw his stick at Petrie.
What an idiot that guy is.
But the thing is, everybody now is like, he's so stupid. He should know the rule. Everybody should know the rule. Nobody in the room knew the rule. None of the announcers knew the rule. Nobody knew the rule.
Hold on a second. What do you mean no one knew the rule? You're not allowed to throw a hockey stick. Everyone knows that rule.
What I'm saying, the rule that it's a penalty shot.
Oh, I mean, whatever, but it's at least a penalty. Even if it's not a penalty shot, it's a penalty. Like, why would you even do that? The stick. No,
that was stupid.
The stick flies at you. You just brush it away and continue playing.
It was like when Piazza threw his bat at Roger Clemens.
No. Clemens threw
his bat at Piazza. You're right.
Yes.
Clemens threw his bat at Piazza. Yes. It was like that, right?
Yes, exactly.
It's like the same thing you asked. Why do people slide into first base? It was just an instinct. He had his thing and he lapsed in judgment and he threw his stick. Stupid.
But I mean, that was only one of the things that happened in that third period that led to the Canadians' win.
Right.
There were some fluky goals in there.
Yeah.
It was just, I mean, I'm happy, of course, because, anytime Montreal plays Toronto, I want Montreal to win.
Yeah.
So, and, the Leafs are off to not such a great start this season.
They got hammered last night.
They did, yeah.
I mean, against Tampa, but I mean, that's the team that they want to measure themselves against.
Of course. Right? And Tampa was struggling going into that game.
Yeah, we can't just say we lost to Tampa, they're the best team in the league. We want to be the best team in the league, and obviously you've fallen quite a bit short. I think the Leafs are as advertised. They're the same Leafs that we saw last year and the year before. Tons of offense, lots of skill. But when push comes to shove, they're not going to do it.
I don't disagree with you, but I mean, Montreal just lost 2 games in a row to Buffalo and Detroit.
No, Montreal's not a good team.
No, it doesn't look like they are.
Montreal was not a playoff team last year, and they'll be maybe a playoff team this year. They'll get the 8th spot. That's their ceiling.
I thought going into the season that Montreal was a little bit better this year than they were last year.
I think they are too, but so are a lot of teams. And they were 8th last year, and then a lot of teams are better now too, right?
It was encouraging seeing them come back against Toronto, the fact that they were able to come back.
Yeah.
But then when you lose back-to-back to Buffalo and Detroit is not a playoff team. You should be beating Detroit.
Yeah.
Buffalo is actually off to a hot start, so I might be able to accept that one.
Yeah. Canadians' defense is brutal.
I thought their defense was improved this year. That guy they got from Winnipeg is actually not bad.
He's fine, but he's a number 4 or 5 defenseman on a good team. Like their defense is just not good. And I'm not a fan of Julien. Never was. I think he got the most out of them last year. The thing with the Canadians, they were successful last year because they come at you. They come at you with speed and they come at you with intensity, right? It's mostly passion. They're winning on guts, right? And that's hard to sustain for 82 games. There's just games where you just don't have that effort, you know?
By the way, that game against Toronto, that third period, that you can do that in the regular season. That third period doesn't happen in the playoffs.
Oh no, because there's no penalties called and
like there's no way if the Canadiens play that way, the way they played against Toronto, if they play that way in the playoffs against a team like Boston or St. Louis,
finished.
Yeah. Because the playoffs are a completely different game.
Then again, I mean, a lot of the Canadiens' problems this year are more or less self-inflicted by bad discipline and taking stupid penalties. And maybe those penalties aren't even called in the playoffs. So who knows, right?
Good point. Yeah, there were some like in that game against Buffalo, there's some penalties called against Tatar. They're like, did he even do anything?
Well, actually, Julien came out and said, I don't know about 2 of those penalties. I didn't even know what they're talking about.
Right.
And it's weird. It's not normal, actually. It's not a normal thing for the coach to be criticizing the refs in the press conference, you know?
By the way, when I have a question for you, when there's a Canadiens game on, which is all the time.
Yeah.
And I think, in fact, I'm almost 100% certain that you have the option of every game to watch in English or French.
Yeah.
What do you watch, in English or French?
I watch in French.
That's what I thought.
I like the announcers better. Like, for instance, the other night against Buffalo, you have Dave Randorf and Gary Galley. Nothing against these guys. I don't know them. I don't want to know them. They're not good. And the reason why I like watching it in French is the French announcers, and it's selfish and it's kind of silly, the French announcers are homers. They come at the broadcast through a Habs eye, right? Whereas Randorf and Galley it's supposed to be the Canadiens broadcast, technically, I guess, on Sportsnet, but I mean, they're not following the team. They're not on the road with the team. They're not following every little detail and know what Nick Suzuki ate for breakfast that morning, right? But the RDS guys do know that stuff.
Right. No, it's you're 100% right, because like Randorf and those guys on Sportsnet, they have to know everything about every team in the league.
Everything.
Because they're going to do a Canadiens game one night, they're going to do a Leafs game the next night, they're going to do an Oilers game the night after that. Right, but the RDS guys, they just do Canadiens games. And actually they do some, I think, Ottawa Senators games also. So they follow the Canadiens, like they know everything. Like you said, what did this guy have for breakfast? What time did he wake up in the morning? You know, what club was he at last night? You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And RDS has, sorry, I forget his name. Mark Denis? Is that his name?
The guy that's between the benches?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's good. He's good. He brings something to the table, this guy. He's an intelligent commentator. Look, I'm lucky that I can speak both languages. I can understand both languages. So I have the choice. And I don't mind watching in French, and I understand everything perfectly, and it's fine for me. Not everybody not everybody feels that way, I guess. But
no, actually, I'm the same way. When I have the choice, if I do have the choice between watching in English and French, I do watch it in French. And in fact, when there's an Alouettes game on, it's always on in English and French, and I watch the Alouettes in French as well.
I watch the Owls in English. That's just funny, right? That's just weird. I find my French is better. My hockey French is better than my regular French.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I can understand every single word they're saying in that broadcast. Every single word perfectly. I get every little joke, every little nuance. But
because they use the same words over and over every game, and you've heard them 100 times.
Yeah, but to have a conversation with a person, maybe I'm not as good.
Right.
Right.
So
that's hockey.
That's hockey.
Well, maybe once the baseball playoffs are over, we'll dive into hockey a little bit more in detail, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can I talk one more thing about hockey since we're on the subject?
You don't have to ask. It's your show.
The Flyers.
Yeah.
What an organization that is.
Why?
Honestly. I mean, they're miles ahead of everybody in terms of the fan interaction.
This is true.
They came up with gritty, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it's the Flyers or maybe it's just like there's a gritty like guy. Like someone's the creative force behind Gritty. But Gritty's brilliant.
He is pretty good. He is pretty good.
Gritty has his own personality. He's like, it's a thing.
Well, did you see what Gritty did this week?
I know. That's what I want to talk about.
No. I know what you're going to talk about, but I'm not talking about that. Gritty had a sign.
That's what I want to say. He had a sign for PK Subban.
Oh, okay.
It said, but he had a sign that said,
Lindsay, you could have done better.
Lindsay could have done better, and the arrow's pointing to Gritty.
Yes.
Himself.
Yes.
So now when you look up that stuff, it's like the headlines are great. It's like there's a Gritty, PK Subban, Lindsey Vonn love triangle.
Oh.
Right? So I just think that's funny. And then the other thing that you sent me last night, which I already saw a couple days ago, which the Flyers unveiled a rage room at the arena.
This is brilliant, actually.
For fans to be able to go, I think you pay $35
yes.
to be able to go in there.
Yes.
I'm sure you have to sign all kind of waivers.
I'm sure.
But you can go in there and then you can basically pick up like a baseball bat or a golf club.
A hockey stick.
And just smash stuff.
It's great.
And they put stuff in there specifically to smash, like mirrors and guitars and furniture.
And the stuff. Some of the stuff has the logo of the opposing team.
Even better, right?
Yes.
So, like, all that to say is hats off to the Flyers. And Carter Hart got his first NHL shutout this week. So Flyer fans are very, very excited about the Flyers' prospects this year on the ice.
Is this the first time in like 25 or 30 years that we can say that the Flyers actually have a legitimate goalie?
I don't think we can say it yet. He's still like young and he's still kind of unproven, but it's trending that way, yes.
Because every year the Flyers have a different goalie and every year it doesn't pan out.
No, the Flyers have not had a goalie since like 1988.
Yeah, since Ron Hextall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, I think we're almost ready to say that, but Hart still has to prove himself a little bit,
Yeah, okay.
They've had number one picks, they've had the Flyers, the NHL is littered with goalie prospects that fizzle out, right? So, but all indications are that this guy's for real.
Are you doing your annual trip to Philadelphia and will you go to a Flyers game?
Well, I'm going to Philadelphia for work.
That doesn't count.
So, no, but I'm making it into a little bit of a trip. So, yeah, I'm probably going to see a Flyers game during that trip in November.
Okay. Maybe tell me if you go to the Rage Room, if you're willing to shell out $35.
All I can tell you is I went to a Flyers game last year in January, and Gritty's like a star.
Oh, I'm sure. I know.
Gritty's the star of the show there. Everybody wants to know where he is, and then he's all of a sudden he's on the ice during the intermission doing wacky stuff.
I think only Shaquille O'Neal has more Twitter followers than Gritty.
And Ariana Grande.
The National Football League.
One football note.
Okay, yes.
So
I did have a football note. If this is not the same one, I'll add to it.
Ben Roethlisberger was fined by the NFL for wearing an Apple Watch on the sidelines.
He's not even playing.
I know, but he was there sort of like helping the quarterback.
You're not allowed to wear an Apple Watch?
Well, this is my question. Why is that even a rule?
Is it because they think there's like some spying potential?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. They don't want anyone to be able to communicate with anyone that's not on the sidelines.
I get that.
So you can't have a phone or you can't have a watch that acts as a phone.
So the tablets that they use are all like on lockdown,
Well, I don't know about the tablets, but my question is this.
Yeah.
Why can you not communicate? Like, so what if I'm on the sideline and I am an employee or a player of a certain team and the coaches already have headsets where they can talk to like their assistant coaches that are up in the press box with the headsets.
Yeah.
So they're allowed to communicate with each other. So why is it like if I'm Ben Roethlisberger and I don't know, I have this phone or this watch and someone sends me a text message telling me whatever.
Yeah. Well,
why is that even an issue? Because if I can do it, the other team can do it also, and the other 30 teams can do it also. So who cares?
You're right. You make too much sense. I was gonna say, I guess it's like maybe for cheating, there's some kind of look. They didn't even want Belichick to videotape a team you know, like practice.
But we talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice?
You know, like there's the whole Spygate thing. So everything stems from that. So they just want everything to be on the up and up. How much did he get fined?
I didn't hear the amount.
Poor Ben.
I think he's appealing it, actually.
Can't wear his Apple Watch. He could have just said it was on airplane mode.
And it might have been. But like the thing is this, like, but who cares if you communicate with somebody from the outside world?
Yeah.
Because anybody should be able to do it. It's not an unfair advantage if everyone can do it.
Yeah. No, I get you. I get you. But they just don't want anybody to do it either. They just don't want everyone to do it. It's like the Olympics. I know how you feel about the Olympics. Let everybody take all the steroids they want, right?
That was my view a few years ago.
You don't feel that way anymore?
Well, I mean, it's not that I don't feel that way anymore. Because it's too hard to police the thing.
Yeah.
So if you just let everyone do what they want, then they're all on a level playing field.
Okay.
I still believe that, you know, Olympic athletes and professional athletes, I think a lot of them are still using performance enhancing drugs. You don't hear about it as much. You only hear about like 1 or 2 guys being suspended every year.
Yeah.
But I think there's way more than 1 or 2 guys that are actually doing it.
Gotcha. I hear you. Anyways, we can get that. I didn't want to segue into like doping. But
No.
before we sign off, remember you can listen and subscribe to new and archived episodes of the Skip and Josh podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and of course, Spotify. If you listen to the show through Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. We would love to hear from you via email, skipandjoshshow@gmail.com, via Twitter @skipandjosh, or by liking and following our Facebook page. As always, you can get all the links to everything I just talked about on our website, skipandjosh.com.
We leave you with this.
What do you have to end the show, Josh? Can I start? I'm scared you're going to steal mine.
Go ahead.
You texted me about it, and I know you know about it. But this whole thing with Wayne Rooney's wife and Jamie Vardy's wife,
Yeah.
Colleen Rooney and Rebecca Vardy, it's like from another planet. It's too crazy to even. You can't even make this stuff up if you try, right?
The truth is, I didn't really read much about it. I read the headline. I read the first paragraph. I said, I'm sure Skip's gonna love this.
Oh, it was.
And
it was the
I
greatest
don't
thing.
even know. I don't even know all the details.
I woke up on Wednesday and I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. So Colleen Rooney, I want to do this really short. I can't do the whole thing. Basically, she knew someone was leaking information to one of the tabloid newspapers. She suspected that it was Rebecca Vardy. She suspected that it was someone that follows her private Instagram account. Not her persona, but her private Instagram account. So what she did is she posted on her Instagram story very sensational news about her and Wayne Rooney, and blocked all her contacts from seeing the story except for one person, Rebecca Vardy. And then those stories ended up in the newspaper, so she knew it was her. Now, Rebecca Vardy has denied this. She said, other people could have access to my Instagram, it's not me. So we'll see where this goes. I just think it's too crazy. And the stories that she leaked are just crazy stuff. It's like, one of them was that her and Wayne went to Mexico to get some genetic test for their child. It's like she really made up some wacky stuff.
Hilarious.
Yeah. So that's that.
It's funny. We think that in North America, there's a lot of gossip, you know, in sports. But
in England.
In England, it's 100 times worse than it is in North America.
There is a columnist for that Sun newspaper that specifically focuses. The column is called, it's something about the wags. You know about the wags?
Yeah, I know about the wags.
Wives and girlfriends?
Yeah.
So there is a wags columnist in that newspaper. That's how much attention there is to this stuff.
It's too funny.
Yeah.
The only thing I want to say is I haven't seen these commercials lately because I haven't watched as much football lately. But I think you might have seen those Subway commercials, and they're trying to be like Seinfeld, where they knock on the door and they have this lame joke.
They're bad.
Those commercials are terrible.
I'm glad we agree on this. I don't even get the joke actually sometimes.
Well, it's not. None of them are funny.
I don't understand what they're trying to like. I don't understand like what the joke is in half of them.
But you hear the music in the background like it's trying to be like Seinfeld, and I'm surprised that actually they're able to do this because it's like it's almost like plagiarism.
It is almost like, but they wouldn't do it if they thought they were going to get in trouble.
Anyway.
Yeah, those are bad commercials.
Terrible.
It's funny that you mentioned that because it's like I normally wouldn't even think about
Well,
mentioning
'cause-
it, but now that you say it, I'm like, yeah, those are terrible.
In September, it seemed like I was seeing that commercial every 20 seconds, and it was like,
Yes.
okay, enough already. They got to bring back your boy, the Uber driver.
We won't see him till March Madness.
I can't wait to see that guy.
Maybe the Super Bowl. I bet you they run out a huge $1 million Super Bowl ad with that guy.
I hope so.
All right, Josh. Good talking to you. Enjoy the baseball playoffs, and we'll talk to you next time.
Great.